Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard, Drag Wizard Luard, standard deck profile for post Phantom Dragon Aeon. This is the latest support for Shadow Paladins in standard format that we have for the different support. It's been a while since I've actually seen a lot of the Luard support. This was a very powerful deck during the premium format and G format for Vanguard, just having the overall playstyle of setting up a bunch of different grade 1s in your drop zone and gaining different abilities with your Luard Vanguard, depending on how many you had set up in the drop zone, and then just having the additional, draw power and the stride power from that deck. And they really did focus on that, playstyle for this deck as well. This isn't a deck I really was working on, so I have some cards set up for it. Like I said, I'm not hoping to, complete this deck. Most of the cards for the Luard deck will be, for trade afterwards, but still wanted to show what my take on the deck lineup would be for this really, really awesome looking Shadow Paladin deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for your grade 3s, we were given two different Luards for the deck. Our first one being Dragheart Luard. With this one on Vanguard, once per turn, retire 2 grade 1 rear guards and draw a card and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So not only do you set up the grade 1s in your drop zone, but it also gives you draw power, but also a retire setup against your opponent and their own rear guards. And on Vanguard, once per turn, this ability cost is reduced by Counterblast 1 for each grade 1 in your drop zone. You Counterblast 3, return 2 normal units from your drop zone to your deck. Search your deck for up to 1 Drag Driver Luard, ride it as stand, and shuffle your deck. And at the end of this turn, ride a Dragheart Luard from your soul as rest. So it's basically their take on Stride for a standard format, with Drag Driver Luard being the Stride. It was one of the first ones for Luard that we were given during the G format era. Being able to set up that card as your ride target is your more offensive, play style in the deck, relying on Dragheart Luard for its draw power first off, and then being able to set up even more easily for all the different, grade 1s in your drop zone, just like the original Stride did for the deck. So you want to run 4 of this card. I'm just substituting in with some of the other grade 3s in the deck. Like I said, I'm not looking to complete this deck, but still, you definitely want to run 4 of that and 4 of the Drag Driver Luard, being the triple rare in the deck, with Dragheart being the Vanguard rare. With this one on Vanguard, during your turn, this unit gets plus 5,000 power for each of your grade 1 rear guards. If you have 2 or more grade 3 rear guards, grade 3s in your soul, the original critical of all grade 1 on your rear guards becomes 2. So with the pressure, you can either go for the Imaginary Gift Force 2 marker or the Force 1 marker, having that plus power, but also giving the additional critical to all your different grade 1s that attack. So with that power, you run plenty of different grade 1s to attack with in this deck, and just for your overall setup. And on Vanguard, when placed, you can Counterblast 1, search your deck for up to any number of cards in your soul with Luard in their name, plus 1 grade cards, and call them to rear and shuffle your deck. So this is your go-to setup as well, because when you call this card out, if you don't have the rear guards to go for, because you retired them for Dragheart for your draw power and retiring your opponent's rear guards, you can rely on Drag Driver Luard to give you back those rear guards with this search power in the deck. And you won't have to really worry about going through all your different counterblasts, because you can reduce that cost for all of the different grade 1s you have set up in your drop zone with the original Dragheart Luard also. And also, that is it for the grade 3s. We'll now move on to the grade 2s. We had to reduce the grade 2 count just for the fact that we had to invest heavily in the grade 3s, because you're constantly riding Drag Driver Luard, and also, just setting up Dragheart Luard, so you want consistency in reaching those numbers. So the grade 2s are the one we're running the least of in the deck. So we're running 4 Drag Wizard Morfessa, the backup grade 2, I would say, to Luard in total. On rearguard or in the deck, if you have a Vanguard with Luard and Scar Dame, this card gets grade -1. So it always counts as a grade 1, so it can get the additional critical power from Drag Driver Luard after you ride this card and use its first ability. And on rearguard, at the end of the battle attacked, if you have 4 or more rearguards with original grade 1, Counterblast 1, and retire this unit, call up to 1 grade 1 from your drop zone to rear. So depending on which grade 1 you want to call out, you can have plenty set up in your drop zone to call, but just remember, with Drag Wizard Morfessa, she won't count as a grade 1 in the drop zone, just the deck and rear guard, but you should usually have plenty of other grade 1s for the setup of your original Dragheart Luard. And I also run, to not only finish up the grade 2s, I told you we run a pretty low grade 2 count, but for Drag Wizard Leafall with this one. On Vanguard or rear, when placed, counter+1, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1, call it to an open rear, and shuffle your deck. It's just easy search power, and the fact that it can be a grade 1 ride target makes it want to be your ideal grade 1 to go into, with Morfessa not having a Vanguard card ability. So 3 Leofold for that draw power, and both of them are 10k, so very defensive on the Vanguard circle as well. Just with that easy draw power with the Counterblast 1, and searching for whatever grade 1, which will normally give you a good amount of different card abilities as well, depending on which ones you call out to the field. And those have to remember, you're not allowed to run Skull Witch Nemain in the deck anymore, thanks to the latest restriction we had in Cardfight Vanguard, which you cannot have Luard and Nemain run in the same deck. It just would have been too broken of a play altogether. But that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. I could definitely say the grade 1 count in this deck is probably the biggest grade 1 count I've had for any of my standard deck profiles, but we're running 4 Abyssal Owl on Vanguard or rear. If your opponent's Vanguard have the same grade, this ability's cost maybe play with a Soul Blast, which is great because it saves you your counterblast for all the other different cards that we are counterblasting with in the deck. But with this card, it's just a, when placed, counterblast 1, draw a card. But once again, you build up plenty of soul in this deck, so being able to rely on the Soul Blast for it, as long as you and your opponent's Vanguard are the same grade, you'll know when to use Abyssal Owl. You'll be able to see, obviously, what grade your opponent is on, and then use that skill. If emergency comes and you need to use the counterblast, you can do that. But most of the time, like I said, prefer to wait and use the Soul Blast, and then just call out some other grade 1s onto the field, with one of them being Drag Wizard Knees. With this one, on Vanguard, when placed, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Dragheart Luard or Drag Wizard Leophil from among them, put into your hand, and shuffle your deck. And when placed on rearguard, by your card's ability, you can Soul Blast 1, and your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. So with the number of Leofold running in the deck, I can potentially put 4 copies in, and if you were to do that, you can take out the 1 additional copy of Bronwyn that I have set up in the deck, just so it's an easier search, I would say, for sure. It's all plus with Drag Wizard Knees, and then being able to have the retire power on rearguard, but it's that Vanguard only skill that made me mix and match in between all of these different numbers and what I wanted to run in the deck. But once again, player preference. You'll get your grade 3 search with this card, but with your Knees, you have specifically named cards, but ones that will be great because they are your ideal ride targets, whether it's Leophil or your Dragheart Luard to ride into with this card. And I also run 3 of the Strict Order Knight Leoalis. With this one on rear, if you have 5 or more grade 1 rear guards, this unit gets plus 15,000 power. So being a 5k grade 1 to begin with, having that 15k being a continuous boost makes it not only, so your opponent has to try and get rid of the other rear guards before downing this card's power and being able to swing over it, but if you have a second Strict Order Knight Leoalis on the other rear guard and 3 set up in the back, being able to have that 20,000 power, definitely difficult for your opponent to attack over this, and at most times they might not even want to invest in attacking this card and just go for your Vanguard instead, which will be at a much lower power, or if they can, like I said, depending on the type of deck, try and retire one of your other rear guards also. And I also run the 2 Blackwing Swordbreaker. You can try Sharon, the draw power with Sharon, and the Soul Charge power is definitely a big plus. I like the Blackwing Swordbreaker just as another draw option, and then if it was placed from the hand, it gets plus 5,000 power, but just the Counterblast 1 draw card. So you have more and more along with Abyssal Owl for the draw power, and depending on what you call out onto the field. But Sharon can also be another one for this spot, taking out the Black Swordbreakers for 2 Sharon can be, if you, like I said, if you have the Charons. I know they're pretty pricey at the moment, but player preference at that point also. And I also run 2 Sage of Risk Decremps on rearguard. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of your front row grade 1 units get Intercept. So just being able to set this card up in the back row. It can be the Interceptor in the front, but you want to make sure your cards keep the Intercept. If you lose your Decremps, you won't have the Intercept anymore for your grade 1s, which you should have plenty of set up in the front row to use, since you want to attack with them. Also, since Luard will be giving them the additional critical. So just having Decremps as a booster for Luard, being an 8k power altogether, but providing that additional Intercept makes it all the better for sure. And I also run, to finish off the grade 1s, I told you we run a really, really big grade 1 count, but 2 Accomplishing Knight, Difellet, I believe, with this one. When placed by your card's ability, Soul Blast 1, it's a Soul Charge 1. This ability may only be used with the same card name once a turn, but I like having 2 for that setup. If you call constant cards each turn, getting the Soul Power, it's just more to add to the engine for your Abyssal Owl in the deck. Having these 2 to go into, and then setting them up in the drop zone afterwards for Luard to reduce the counterblast for it also. And that is it for the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s. Starter of choice is Drag Prince Root, being the one also used by Kazuma during the series as his first starter to go into, giving you the quick shield trinket and the draw when you use it. For the trigger lineup, I'm going with 8 critical for the deck, but I'm running 3 Darkside Trumpeteer and 3 Death Feather Eagle, both of these being the generic critical. I decided to split up the Sentinels for this deck, so I'm running 2 of the Belial Owl. This is the 30,000 critical shield for the deck, so just additional shield power for this. For the draw trigger lineup, I run 2 Maclear and 2 Drag Wizard Babbed. So you have the Sentinel split up because you can only run 4 in a deck. So just the additional shields, you can keep some of the grade 1s in your hand to use on the field for more offensive capabilities. You're fine with these defenses as long as you go into it, and you can provide more pressure against your opponent with those draws. And lastly, the new heal trigger, the Abyss Grail, being the, I would say, the trigger of choice for the Luard deck, saving the Abyss Healer for Blaster, Shadow Paladins. This one definitely fit with the deck altogether and the different, monsters they were. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Definitely going to be looking into building more, decks from this set. I still want to work on Ghidorah for sure. It's one of the ones I want to, focus on after finishing Shadow Paladin, Phantom Blaster Dragon. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.